When people in the Midlands want to talk, they talk to Will Faulkner.
Artemis 2 is NASA's first crewed mission of the Artemis programme and its first human mission around the moon since Apollo 17 in 1972. So it's planned as a roughly 10-day lunar flyby. It's not a landing, and it's going to use the Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft. So let's find out why they're going back to the moon, and eventually will we be landing on it again? Is there going to be another space race? For context, Seanie Morris is a member of the Midlands Astronomy Club. He's also the STEM Engagement Officer with Laois County Council. Good morning, Seanie.
Good morning, Will.
So flesh out the background to the Artemis mission.
Well, this has been a mission that's been in development for quite some time. I mean, we are a small number of years behind in total. And the idea was that this was going to be the jumpstart towards possible human exploration on Mars. Now, even that kind of a plan has changed. As we had the announcement last week, the Lunar Gateway is going to be shelved. However, we still want to be able to go back to the moon. We know that the moon could be a place for other resources that we could mine and bring back to Earth. It's also part of our nature to do exploration and further discovery in science. So it's probably high time that we decided to go back to the moon.
Well, who exactly is going back? So the crew, we have Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, Jeremy Hansen. They're from the Canadian Space Agency. Hansen is the first non-US citizen, I believe, to travel beyond low Earth orbit. So it seems that whatever about politically between Donald Trump and Mark Carney, their tensions, the agencies between the two countries are getting along.
They are, and always have been very well. So there's 3 NASA astronauts, and we have the Canadian Space Agency astronaut as well. So for going back to the moon, this will be the first time that a non-US citizen, as you said, is going to be leaving Earth's orbit for a long mission. Now, when Artemis, and I like to say when, because even though we had lots of delays and it was scrapped from February, we are looking at a greater than 80% chance of liftoff this coming Wednesday. So when that happens, the Space Launch System rocket will be taking off from Cape Canaveral, the Space Launch Pad Complex 39B, commonly used for the shuttles back in the day. And once these guys get into orbit, they're going to have to start outlaying their mission from as simple as putting the kitchen together, testing the new toilet system, unfolding the seats. These are the kind of things that have not been done in this new era of lunar exploration that Apollo showed us could be done, but in a much more cramped environment. So the Orion capsule is about 50% bigger than the old-fashioned Apollo, which is allowing for 4 astronauts to go up in a very comfortable environment. Around about 350 cubic feet, which was about, compared to the Apollo had 3 astronauts at about 250 cubic feet. So now you can see how the space is opened up for them. They got a kitchen, they'll have exercise equipment, their beds will be tied to the walls, and they've got 2 new toilet systems that they need to check during their 10-day mission. So, there's a lot of science still to be done on this.
When you consider other forms of propulsion that have changed over the last 50 years, the internal combustion engine, for instance, far more efficient, the electric motor in cars now at mass production level, rockets, and this new SLS rocket particularly, are they still more or less the same as they were?
They are. The core center stage of SLS is using liquid propellants, the same liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen that has been used for many rockets to get to space. We could also use liquid methane. But strapped to the sides of the core stage of the SLS are the solid rocket boosters. These are engines that were used for the Space Shuttle era program. You might remember you had the rust-colored liquid fuel tank that the orbiter was strapped to and then fixed to the sides were these solid rocket boosters. Their reliability is so high and they're quite easy to produce. They do have a little bit of an inherent danger in that when solid fuel is ignited, there's no controlling the burn. So these are essentially like giant fireworks. But the technology has proven to work so well. I mean, we do have a case with the Challenger space shuttle disaster in 1986, but that was bad planning and adverse weather. We know from the mistakes then how the designs were improved. So the propellant system is tried and tested. Even in space where they're using liquid helium and hydrazine as thruster propellants on board the Orion, this has been tried and tested numerous times before as well. So it is very much old technology, but upgraded for the new era.
So eventually Artemis 4 will be targeted early 2028. That hopes to put astronauts back on the moon. And I'm just wondering, is there an agenda? So last time, obviously, we did it to test ourselves for the sake of exploration and human achievement. But are we getting to the point either through NASA or other agencies or indeed private corporations where there's a commercial case for going to the moon?
There is quite literally both, to answer your question jointly. We do have private companies that are already seeing parts of the moon as places to set up human colonies or biodomes. And we know from exploration that close to the lunar south pole, there is frozen water ice locked in some craters that will never see, literally, the light of day. Water is a natural life support system because we need it in order to drink and survive. But from that, you can split water into its hydrogen and oxygen components. And from there, you can reignite it together in order to produce the electricity. This is where the moon has a lot of the essentials in that it's close by. It has the water ice. Technology today is more affordable than it was in the 60s and 70s in order to be able to send humans to the moon and stay there for a longer period of time. So not only is there about this human exploration and possibly a human settlement on the moon, there are other companies as well as, not directly through NASA, but the United States see it as an avenue for mining. There are trace elements of rare metals and other resources to which they can be mined and either used on the lunar surface and then shipped back to Earth or shipped back in their raw material for refining here on Earth. And, science fiction has allowed us to kind of dream that this is a possibility in order to keep up with our society's needs for such resources.
Seanie, we'll keep an eye and see how matters play out from here. And again, I suppose safety first. We all remember vividly the disaster back in the 1980s and the loss of life, and hopefully that risk has been much mitigated since then. For anybody who is curious, by the way, what's the best way to track the progress?
There is going to be open YouTube channels. They don't require any registration. NASA does have a very good feed, as do many other affiliates. Therefore, doing a search on Google for Artemis 2 launch, you'll see many different areas that are NASA affiliated in order to see the live streams as the countdown progresses. We're looking at a launch of roughly between 10 and 11 p.m. Irish time on Wednesday, if all goes to plan. They'll have from April 1st to the 6th in order to do that before they have to wait until April 30th for the next window. So fingers crossed, we'll see it all happen with ourselves this coming Wednesday.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Seanie. We'll chat again soon. Seanie Morris is a member of the Midlands Astronomy Club. He's also the STEM Engagement Officer with Laois County Council.